All right. We have a round of 42 in the room. We're just going to get one more minute to get the rest of their team. Who would have thought that a year ago that number was like that was over what we had? And today we are close to 100 Viva. So this is going to be a very special session. And it's going to be so amazing because everybody it's going to learn a little bit of ourselves and some of the most amazing inspirational stories from one of our top collaborators in Viva. So welcome everybody, and a few more seconds to go before we get this party started. All right. So we have over 50% of the population in Viva. So thank you very much for everybody that made the time to come to this very special presentation of Women in Leadership. This one is actually called Women Driving Change. And the best part of it is that these are going to be lessons from Viva's top female managers. So please, everybody, click that clap emoji and give all of these amazing people a round of applause, please. And we are going to start getting to know them. Some of you might know them, some of you might be the first time to put a name, to put a face on the name. So without further ado, let me introduce to the panel. Now, before we go into the formal introductions, let me tell you that they are going to introduce themselves. We are going to have a few questions that we're going to ask to them so we can learn a little bit more of what they do here in Viva. And also, we are going to have a lot of time for Q&A. So please have your questions ready. All questions are valid. Here is the time that we have to learn from our peers. So without further ado, I am going to start introducing our beautiful panel. And first in my list is one person that has the most gorgeous smile that I have ever seen. Our first CSM is Stephanie Moreno. Please, Stephanie, come
I thought
on
you were
and
gonna
introduce
say
yourself.
Sue, because she has the most beautiful. I love the energy. Thank you so much, and I'm really excited to be a part of this amazing session. For the ones who don't know me, my name is Stephanie Moreno. You can call me Steph. Born and raised in El Salvador. I joined Viva well, it's going to be 2 years this January. My background is I'm an industrial engineer, and my main experience has been in the BPO industry. So something completely different that what I've been doing in the past, but the way I like to see it is what are the skills I learned from my previous experience and how to use them to be successful in what we're going to do in the present. So really excited again, and looking forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Stephanie. And yes, you go hand to hand with Sue's smile, but hey, the boats were in. What can I do? So our next panel, it's one person that I personally admire the most, and I have learned so much from her throughout of this amazing year. So let me introduce you to Claudia Bermudez.
Thank you, Carla. Qué linda. Hi, team. I'm also super excited to be here. My name is Claudia Bermudez. For the ones that don't know me, I'm from Nicaragua. I'm an architect, so that's my background. I worked as an architect for a couple of years, for 3 years. But then I decided that construction wasn't my thing. So I moved on and did my master's in art and culture and creative industries, something totally not related to the admin world. But yeah, and then after that, I landed in Viva, and I'm just so happy to be here. I think, like Steph mentioned, being an architect helped me a lot, to get those soft skills and learning a little bit how to deal with people and trying to please everyone, trying to please the designer and trying to please the customer. So I think you learn a lot, and I've been able to apply that here. So thank you, team.
Thank you, Clau, for that introduction. And next in our panel, it's one person that I admire for all of her skills, not only within Viva, but as a mother as well. So please give a warm welcome to Sue Ramos.
Thank you, Carlita. Hi, team. I'm very excited to be here today with all of you. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sue Ramos. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, but I currently live in Colombia, where my family is, and I'm raising my kids. My background is actually very different as well, the same as many of our CSMs. I have a bachelor's degree in natural sciences from the University of Puerto Rico, and I did my master's in public health at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. So a lot of my background has been mainly working with the public sector, being a health educator, working with the public agencies. So doing that switch or that change from the public sector to the private sector, where is the startup world was a huge difference for me, but at the same time, a huge learning opportunity that was actually my motivator to join Viva originally. I was looking for not the theory, but the actual facts of how I would actually be able to be a good administrator if I were to put up a program, the things that they don't teach you in college, but you actually learn on the go. So that's how I saw Viva like a huge opportunity to learn and grow. And it has proven to be exactly that. And I love it here. On a more personal note, I'm also a mom of 3 little ones. The oldest is 8, the second is 6, and the youngest is 3. So I also have that mindset of, having to balance being a mom, working from home, and all the things that come along with that. So I'm excited to be here, excited to answer all of your questions, and just to learn also from the panel. So thank you.
Thank you, Sue. That was a beautiful introduction. And wow, I keep learning more and more about you every time you share. And last but not least, we have one person that has an amazing trajectory here in Viva, and she not only works herself at Viva, but she has a whole team behind her family. Please give a warm welcome to Sonia.
Thank you, Carla. And I'm excited to be here. As Carla mentioned, I have to say my most important role really is my family role. So I value family a lot. And I think this is something that I have been trying to balance and show throughout my time at Viva. My background is in business administration. I have a minor in entrepreneurship, and I really enjoy startups. So this has been an amazing journey for me. And I've worked in different industries, bank, agriculture, and BPO. So I enjoy learning about different industries and also about our customers and everything that we do at Viva. So I'm excited to be here. I'm a mom to 2 girls. One is about to turn 1 year old. So I'm going to let you know when that happens in a couple of weeks, so you can celebrate with me. And I'm also a wife. And I always say that Eduardo is also part of Viva because he has been enjoying my time here too. So excited to be here and share with all of you and also learn from everyone here today.
All right. Thank you, Sonia. Please bring those invitations for that birthday party because we are all going to attend. So there you have it. Those are our panelists for today. So we are going to start with the rounds of questions that I will ask them directly so they can share a little bit more of their experience. However, feel free to have your own questions ready for the Q&A. Glorita, I see that you raised your hand.
Sorry, I thought we were going to ask questions right now, so I'm gonna save it for the time when it comes. Thank you.
Not a problem. You are going to be first of my list. So the first question actually goes to Sonia. I would like to ask you if you could share any specific experience where you supported other women in the team.
Yes, Carla, and this is exciting for me because I want to say I have one experience, but I don't, because I have a lot of small experiences that I can share. But I want to let you know a couple of them, because it's not about just one time or one thing that you can do throughout your journey in a place where you are. So right now we're at Viva, and I have had the opportunity to work with different people in the team that I've enjoyed helping out and supporting them throughout their journey. I remember when I started as the analyst, I think I was the 15th or 16th analyst that joined Viva. I still remember the number over there. And when people started joining, more people started joining the team, sometimes they would say things like, I feel like I need to practice more. And I wouldn't say names, some skills. And someone said, I need to go and practice more on public speaking. And I reached out, and she reached out, and we talked, and I said, hey, I can help you. How can I support you? And those little things I would like to say are, I always like to be as very human as possible and let them know that we can work together and support them. So we started working on that. Then I also have other people that I have worked, and another person which reached out and said, I'm feeling tired. How can I handle this? And we started working on a plan to help her manage things better, and also let her know that we are interested in her health, in her mental health, in her health, in her body. So I've done this in different ways. I also can mention a person in specific that I had the privilege to work with for more than a year. And as I've seen her grow, we have worked in her skills with, like, how can she learn new skills? How can she become a better leader? And we have done this by not only finding the interest the person has, but also investing time in the other person. And that's where I think this is like the human part of how I try to support other women in the team. She has been able to grow from not only in position, from an analyst to senior analyst, but also we've seen a lot of growth in her skills. And I'm pretty sure that we will be seeing her in the future in activities like this. So how have I been able to support them? I would say first is listening, then working together towards achieving the skills that they have been interested in growing in, and also trying to understand where they're standing at that moment and working with that to help them grow and at the same time help them stay healthy. So I don't have like one specific example that I have to mention, because as I mentioned, I feel like this is a joint or a group of little actions that you can do to support everyone else in your team or who's around you. So those little actions, those words, the follow-up that you do with someone that wants to grow is what impacts in their growth, and that affects the team that works around you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I think you have touched so many people in Viva that, yes, it's impossible to name just one. So thank you for sharing. All right. So we have our next question for Sue, actually. And I would like to ask you, how would you describe your leadership style, and how was it evolved through your career?
Awesome. Thank you, Carla. And actually, something Sonia just mentioned, it's exactly a lot with what I was going to answer, is the humane part. So going back a little bit, if I were to describe my leadership style from the book, right? I would probably say, if you look for leadership styles, I would say somewhere between transformational leadership to visionary leadership, which is it has a lot to do with empowering, motivating, looking into the future, seeing the big picture at the end of the day. But I think what I've come to notice and realize, which it wasn't something that came naturally to me, like it was like, oh yeah, I'm like this. No, it's something that I've been meditating a lot throughout my career, seeing ways of how I act with other people that I'm trying to lead and oversee, is that I place myself in a lot of empathy. For those of you who have worked with me, you know that I tend to be very emotional sometimes, depending on who I'm working with and things like that. And I think it's because I put myself a lot in the shoes of the other to try to really understand what are the struggles, what are the things that they're facing. And I try to ask the most of those people, but at the same time realize that, not everyone has the same journey. There are different things that everyone has to overcome and struggle. So I try to base a lot of my leadership on that. And I mentioned that it wasn't something that came naturally, because if I think back when I was maybe 20 years ago, I actually did not see myself as a leader. I was more of the follower. I would prefer to follow people and just support them in anything they needed. Then, let's say approximately 10 years ago, when I got married and I had my first kid and I moved from my country, it was like a big wall that I hit. And that's where I went through a lot of struggles, and I realized I can't just follow people. I actually need to take ownership of myself, of my life, of what I do. Because if I wait for others to tell me what to do, then I'm never going to do anything. And I think that's where it started. And the fact of the empathy, also because I struggle so much getting to some kind of leadership realization that I could be a leader, that I could help other people, women. It was something that I had to go through a lot of hardship to actually get there. So I think that's how it has evolved. I think at Viva is where I had the most opportunity to be empowered, to really just put myself out there, out of my comfort zone, and really hone in those things that I had been learning by all those struggles, but at the end of the day I could actually implement wholeheartedly and happily. And just being with the entire team, getting to know each of you has really inspired me even more to be an even better leader. So that's how my leadership has evolved, and that's how I would really describe my leadership style, as more based on empathy.
All right. Thank you very much. That was truly inspiring. And I see a lot of people in the chat going on how you have just inspired them to follow their path. So thank you. My next question goes to Claudia. As a leader, how do you foster a supportive and collaborative team environment?
Thank you, Carla. I think what I like to do the most is to get to know my team. I like them to feel comfortable talking to me. And I do that by just asking about their personal lives, like about what they're going through right now. I think it's super important to understand where they're coming from, because sometimes we expect them to act the way or receive the feedback in a certain way, but we don't even know what they're dealing with in their personal lives. So I think that is something super important that we need to understand before asking them to collaborate, right? Because sometimes, thank God this is not the case in Viva, but everyone gets along and everyone is super friendly. But how can you ask them to collaborate with each other if they don't really get along? So I think that's something important. And I think one of the things that we do, and we do often, is that we have lunch meetups every month. And Carla knows that because she's part of that. And sometimes just talking about random things. One time we were talking about RuPaul's Drag Race, and it was so funny because you get to see, a different side of your teammates, and it's just a great way to bond. And then you can start collaborating and, getting to know each other. So I think that's the way I do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing some of the things that you do with the team. I do see a lot of people are going to adopt that. And this is why I love this panel, because here we are sharing our ideas so everybody else can use them and make them their own. So thank you very much for that. And I have another question. This one goes out for to Stephanie. So as an accomplished professional, how do you inspire and motivate others, especially those aspiring to a leadership role?
I love that question, and thank you. So I want to talk about my personal experience. First off, I think that what's most important for me is leading by example. Um, One of the things I've learned, and I have to say that Viva has been a blessing for me. I agree that empowerment and learning is absolutely true. We truly live up to our values. One of the things I loved about learning here at Viva is that Ikigai, truly recommend, where I learned about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we talked about them. And to me, the one that stands out is education. There was one reel I remember watching that said that luck is that interjection between opportunity and education. And so that's what I've been doing, is educating myself. How? By reading, learning about me, that self-love, self-growth as well. And understanding that I have my own values as well, understanding what am I good at and what do I want to improve. Also changing that narrative in my head and say, I deserve that seat at the table. Using my voice, and Adnan won't let me lie that since the very beginning, I believe since the interview, I said, okay, what's the growth path? And so I have that I have it in my head. I review that maybe once a month and see, okay, so what's the next step and what do I have to do to get there? So being vocal about it and say it out loud, but truly believe in yourself is what's going to help you and inspire you and motivate, because you have to trust in yourself. And the one thing I want to also share with you is that I also had the blessing of working at Hasura. As many of you, my previous, and I'm now fully at Viva, which is exciting as well. But my previous executive is Marion Schleifer. She was recently one of the Women in Leadership sessions. And I learned so much from her. And I think that here at Viva as well, it's so important to surround yourself with mind-like people that think like you, or what can you learn from others. And I think that that's one of the things that I love about this tribe and community, that I don't see ourselves as going by titles, but as how we can learn from each other. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, and I'll pass it back to you, Carla.
Thank you very much for sharing. Actually, I think I'm going to bend the rules a little bit, and I have a follow-up question here with you. So what advice do you have for anyone here at Viva, or for any individual that are aiming to progress in their careers?
Absolutely. I think that, have you ever felt that gut feeling in your stomach, or sometimes you feel like in the back of your neck, or your tu piel se enchina? I think that that's your intuition. Trust your intuition, trust the process. I go by one quote as well, that the odds increase the more you try. So see failures as learning opportunities. I think that one of the, let's talk about values, move fast and break things. That's absolutely normal. And our culture gives you that freedom to do so. So set specific deadlines, but most importantly, make yourself accountable and say, okay, so just to give you an example, I have my resolutions here, my yearly resolutions in front of me, and I like to share this with everyone I can. And if you can replicate that, because it worked for me. But I said, okay, my resolution number 3 is travel with my mom to Mexico in July. And so by saying that, when you already have that in the back of your head, okay, how am I going to accomplish that? So now I already told myself, okay, I want to be in a bigger, this is a great, and I mean, I'm manifesting because I'm going to tell you, I said to myself, in 3 years, I'm going to participate in a panel like an auditorium. And this is my practice. So I'm already manifesting.
I love it. And I love it. And I am so happy to hear you say that, because I remember you a year ago saying how scared you were of speaking in public and you were struggling for that. And hearing that you are aiming for that, it's just an inspiration itself. So I am so happy and I can't wait to see you on that panel. I am going to take front seat on that auditorium. So thank you for sharing. All right. So I have a final question, and this one it's an open question for all the panelists before we move on into our Q&A. So please have those hands ready and those questions ready. I want to ask all of you. So, what would be your advice for those people that are joining Viva, that are learning about our culture and being this their first panel with Vivans? What would you say to those new additions to the tribe? So we're gonna start with you.
Thank you. So I think one of the best advices I can give to someone who's starting is to be curious, right? Curiosity tends to make you want to figure out things, see things from another perspective, understand the why behind them. And that actually propels you to really go out there and look for those answers, look to grow, look to understand things. Why are we doing this? Are there better ways to do it? You know, trying to be that way, always being curious about things and not be afraid to seem like, oh, well, I think they already have that said. Why am I even wasting my time? Don't. There's nothing ever set in stone. And any idea that comes to the team is always welcome. Some might be prioritized, others might not, but that doesn't mean it's less of an idea. And that mindset actually helps you with your customers, with life in general, right? If you're curious, understanding the why behind the things that we do and why you do them, it's always an advantage for you at the end of the day.
All right. Thank you very much. Stephanie, what do you have for us?
Yes, I'll keep it short and sweet. Have you heard of that saying, this is too good to be true? It's not the case at Viva. It is true and it is good.
I love it. I love it. We should get that. We should get that printed for next year. Clau, what about you?
Thank you, Carla. I would say, and probably Adnan is going to disagree with me, but I would say never say no, because just put yourself out there. Even if you're afraid, don't say no. If someone asks you to do something or, be in a position that you are not comfortable with, just do it, because you're going to learn a lot from that. And especially here in Viva, that everything moves so fast, and especially working with startups, that everything changes and you have to wear many hats. I think not saying no helps you to learn a lot and actually realize that you actually know how to do it. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. This is the example of move fast and break things. I love it. And last but not least, Sonia.
Thank you, Carla. I would also add that have a mindset of that every opportunity that you get is a learning. That way you can get the most out of it instead of thinking about what you don't have or what you're not doing. You can see things as what you are learning, what you are doing, and how that will be useful for you in the future. You have so many learning opportunities here at Viva that if you take every one of them, I'm pretty sure you'll not only learn more skills, but you will also learn for any future opportunities that you have in your life. And if you see everything around you like that, then you see how no matter where you are, you can use everything that you've gotten in different situations, even for having a conversation. So always see everything as a learning opportunity.
All right. Love it. Love it. Thank you very much. Thank you to all our panelists for your answers. And right now, we are going to open the floor for everybody else in the call to raise their hands and ask any of our panelists a question. So, Glorita, go ahead. This is your chance.
Thank you, Carla. Well, this question goes for those who have kids. Let's say Sue and Sonia. I've been thinking about this. I'm 34 years old right now, and everybody says to me, "Don't you dare having kids because then your life will be chaotic, and you will not be able to accomplish more things, and your schedule will be full of things, and you will feel stressed all the time." And you know what? Being a professional and having this work life balance thing, how you manage that with kids and the professional life and the family life? And that goes for any of you.
I can
You can
start.
go, Sonia. Yeah.
I can start. Gloria, this is chaotic. Yes, sometimes it is. Is it easy? Not always easy, but it's definitely something that I think we can't experience in other way, because having a family, becoming a mom, really gives you other skills and awakens different skills, I can say, in you. It's not always easy, and this is where I would disagree with what Claudia said before. Sometimes you have to say no to a lot of things, and it's not easy either, but it's you can accomplish it. Actually, I stopped working, I mean full-time work, for 3 years before I started at Viva. And when I got into Viva, I was really nervous about, am I going to accomplish this? Am I going to be able to do it? And you can grow, because you're not doing this just for you, then you're also doing it for your family, you're also doing it for your kids. So whatever you're trying to achieve, it's an example for them. Whatever you're trying to balance, it's an example for them. So then you try harder to do it. So instead of being this something that stops you, it moves you. So it's not always easy. And yes, as I said, it can become chaotic at sometimes, but that is completely a chaos that I wouldn't want to miss in my life right now, because it's something that I really enjoy, and I know you can do it. So, for example, I'm going to mention some other examples here too. If we go to Notion, we can see executives. For example, Daniela works with executives that are moms. They have 3 kids, and they are doing it. And you see them grow, and you see their capabilities and their skills, how they keep on going forward, because at the end of the day, those little ones push you to be better. So you have to find the right balance, and you have to take measures. I'm in a point where I have had to change things to be able to accomplish both things, but you can do it. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I feel happy about this answer because it gives me hope.
If I can add one other thing before we move on, is that it also has to do with sacrificing, right? There are a lot of things that you're going to have to sacrifice if you have kids, if you don't have kids. In life, it's a balance of what you're willing to let go of and what you're not. At the end of the day, it's your choice, right? But in my case, similar to Sonia, I was unemployed for almost 2 years because I was taking care of the kids. When I felt that I was at a point where I was stable enough to really, okay, now I can really go into the workforce and I can find a balance to do this, then I came back and I found Viva, right? But I had to sacrifice 2 years of career because I have chosen my family, and that's okay. It all depends on what you're willing to sacrifice at what time, and not regret your decisions, because at the end of the day, they're going to be what really help you grow as a human, as a mom, as a professional, everything, right? So that's my other stand in there.
Thank you, Sue. So true. Thank you so much.
You're muted, Carlita.
Thank you very much. So thank you for your answers, and thank you, Lorita, for your question. Maria Andre, what's your question?
Thank you, Carla. I didn't know how to word it, so I wrote it down. But my question is, have you found yourself in a scenario where someone from your team seeks your assistance and you're uncertain about the guidance to provide? If so, how did you support them in such a situation?
I can go if that's okay. It has happened to me multiple times. And what I do, guess, I reach out. So I reach out to either Adnan or Sonia, Sue, Clau, Isa, or whoever I need to ask for opinions. And this actually happened to me. The most fresh example was yesterday, where I did not know what to do and I had to make an executive decision right off the bat. So I definitely asked, and I asked Sonia, and I thank you for your guidance. I went back and moved fast and did not break things, but that's what I do. I mean, you're not expected to have all the answers, but what you're expected to, I think, is to be resourceful and don't be afraid to ask questions. All questions are welcomed. They're all valid, and we're all learning here. And that's the beauty of the startup companies. Not all processes are already established. And if you learn, okay, so if something hasn't been established, okay, that's already an idea in your head. Okay, so maybe now I'm going to set some time to propose something so that if someone else has the same scenario, they'll know what to do.
All right. Thank you very much, Steph, for your question. For your answer, sorry, and thank you, Maria Andre, for your question. We are gonna move to Lorena. Hello, Lorena? Not sure if there are any audio or connectivity issues. We are gonna give her a minute. Or Lorena, are you there? All right, we're gonna give you a minute, okay? So you can fix your audio issues, and we are gonna jump to Silvina.
Thank you, Carly. So I have a question that is directed to Steph and Clau. So you're both coming from industries that are male dominated or that have are very male oriented. How did it impact it in your life coming to Viva, which is extremely like the polar opposite of that?
I can start if you want. um, yeah, I agree. It was really difficult, to be honest, especially because I was younger as well. I think I was like 23, 24. And I was also head of department. So most of my meetings were with a bunch of old guys. So it was really weird, because they not only saw me like, oh, you don't know anything because you're young and because you're a woman. So I think I try to learn as much as possible from them without letting them hinder my progress. I don't know if that makes sense, but like not trying to show like, okay, you're making me feel this way, because it really made me feel really silly, like the comments that I would receive and things like that. It would be like really hurting my confidence in myself. And so coming here to Viva, like you said, which is the total opposite, it just gave me that extra confidence that I needed. And especially because first here, it wasn't because of the gender. It was more like, this is not my industry. This is not what I'm used to. So it was more like trying to focus on the things that I can do instead of the things that I can't. So that helped me a lot. And especially, I have to say, Adnan helped me a lot, just saying like, try it, just give it a try. You can do this, And so pushing me, I think it helped me tremendously to bring my confidence back.
Real quick, in my case, I did not experience that in my previous job industries. It was actually quite the opposite, where I had some, differences with other women. And so that's what I love about Viva, because there's no, what's the word, Maria Andre? Unrivalry. No hay rivalidad. I can't say that word in English. But if I think back and if I reflect on my previous experience, the way I saw myself is, if I'm surrounded by men at high level positions and I'm there, I would say, good job, Steph. Like, I'm here, I deserve this. And, I'm doing something good. And I'm, trying to celebrate the momentum and don't feel intimidated by others, regardless of their gender. I earned it, yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Clau and Steph. Thank you for your question. Just a quick reminder, everybody, if by any chance you have audio issues, don't stop asking. We have the chat. You can pose your question there, and we can go ahead and ask that question directly to our panelists. And now we are going to go with Karen.
Just
Thank
checking,
you.
can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll wait for my question. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, Carlita. So I have a question for you. So I loved your response on your leadership style. And it made me curious because I've heard a lot of other leaders actually say like they see it as a weakness to be too emotional, too empathetic. So I want to ask you, like, how would you challenge that perspective and how have you actually used it in your advantage?
That's a great question. Let me think a minute about it. So I have heard a lot that actually it's kind of funny because I was discussing this with now about my husband, how we think polar opposites on that aspect as well. He tends to be more objective. I tend to be more emotional, and that it's a good balance. But at the end of the day, it feels like he's in Mars, I'm in Venus. But at the end of the day, I do feel like empathy is the way we can really connect with someone else, right? It might seem like a weakness to be too emotionally invested. And in some cases, it's not the right approach to tackle certain situations, right? There are moments where you have to be objective and sometimes even not involve emotions at all to make a decision, right? But in general, if you're trying to create a bond, if you're really trying to invest in that person's growth, if you're really trying to hear the person, understand their struggles, then empathy is the way to go. It's, for example, instead of someone bringing a problem and you jumping into providing a solution, instead of, hey, okay, let me stop and let's just listen, right? Which is something that it's hard sometimes to do because you want to move fast, but in some moments you just have to listen and you just have to really hear the person, and that can be accomplished through empathy and really trying to understand the other person and what they're going through and really be there for them in that sense, right? So I would say it's the empathy, it's not a weakness, it's actually the way you can actually create a bond with someone else to get the best out of them, and for them to trust you to lead them. So that's how I would counteract that objection, I guess.
Thank you very much, Sue, for that. And thank you very much for that question, Karen. We are going to go to Maria Jose.
So, hi, I'm one of the newest here. My question was going to be like, I'm going to start with this. When me getting into Viva, it was a following intuition of myself. You know, I heard that word, and it was because I follow an intuition. Um, and I have a background in a couple of roles. You know, they've been cool. They've been great. You know, so the things that I follow in intuition. However, I'm still that project manager mindset, which I get a project, I work for it, and I'm already there. You know, and I'm already there. So the thing is that when I'm hearing you all talking about how you can get up, how you can move forward, I think my question would be, because plus that being on my training has been, and I've been talking all about this, it's been like a lesson to humbleness. You know, I've been learning things, and I call it back to the future, because it's like the things I used to know with the future of how things are being done and will be done, you know. But at the end, it's kicking a little bit my ego, and I'm in a constant mantra, and I'm still following my intuition. My constant mantra is this, like, your intuition is telling you that you're here because of a reason. So finally, my question is, how have you ever, am I the only crazy one that it's feeling like this? And if I'm not, it's good to not be alone. And how could I get some tips to overcome this and say, okay, you'll get there, just be patient, you know, because it's not just that easy. Like if this, like, just be patient, it's like, well, thank you. Thank you for that word. I have never heard of it before. That's like, you know, so what I'm trying to say is, like, am I the only one? And if I'm not, how could I get a little bit of help from that side?
I can go. Because I was actually the one who mentioned intuition. And you're not alone. Welcome to the club. That has been the feeling. I think that if we go back to maybe the first week, second, third, fourth, even when you're paired up with the customer, that overwhelmness will still be there, I think. But one of the best advices I've ever gotten here at Viva came from Phineas. And because I was struggling as well with some learnings I was doing. And he said, you have to understand, or you have to ask yourself the why. And ask yourself that question 3, 4, 5 times. That why, that strong why, it's going to be your fuel to continue with your learning and to continue with what you're doing. And always keep in mind and understanding the reason why did you choose whatever decision you made. And trust the process. If you have any questions, ask. We're here for you. And if you feel like you just want to vent, schedule a quick donut and say, can we cry together? You know, and that's okay. I read a comment from Em about a podcast from their executive, where emotions are normal. We're all humans, and it is an okay feeling. So I'm putting my schedule available for you if you want to touch base. But yes, it is a normal feeling, and you're not alone, but you'll get there. I promise.
Thank you.
I want to jump in real quick also to mention, and it's something Steph said, trust the process, yes, but also it's the fact that we've all gone through that same thing, right? All of us CSMs, we're in your same position at some point. So we all know that struggle. We all know that feeling of, am I really cut out for this? Okay. We tend to doubt ourselves a lot, right? And sometimes our egos tend to fight with us. But I really do agree that understanding the why and trusting the process and trusting those around you that are trying to support you and help you is the best way to go. So I just wanted to echo that I also agree with that, and that we're definitely here to support you because we've all gone through the same process. And yeah, we want to see you succeed. So that's our goal at the end of the day.
All right. Thank you to our panelists for those amazing answers. And just to add up, Maria Jose, you can read the chat. You are not alone here, and we are a support system. And as the support system that we are, anytime, any place that you need a quick touch base, let's call it, we are there for you. So no problem. And we have another question from Lorena.
Hi, it's working. I think everyone can hear me finally. Well,
Yeah.
first, I'm super happy to be here. This has been the craziest 3-day journey I think I've had in a while. Honestly, when I started looking for a job again, well, I've been out of a job for about a year. I had a very terrible car accident last year with my children in the car, and just the I guess the motivation to grow within the industry here in my city just kind of died when that happened to me. So I decided that I was going to, take some time off, dedicate some time to my kids, really trying to focus on my family, right? Because it gave me that huge wake up call. I knew I had to get a job at some point. I mean, we have to support our family. And my husband, he did an amazing job for a year, but it was time. So I got into this mindset where this is going to be a competition. I have to find a job. I have to do what I need to do. I can't make mistakes. I have to, be 100% on track with everything. I can't miss a beat. Because that's what I'm used to. So here is my question, I think. How do you get past, I guess, that mental block of I'm being watched, I'm being observed. If I make a mistake, um, is this going to end? Is this too good to be true? I guess is my question, and I'm afraid, right? I guess to lose this amazing thing.
So I would say that if you operate with fear, then you'll always be held back. So first, we need to change our mindset and stop operating with fear and start operating with trust. Well, that's one of our values. And once you have changed your mindset and stop operating with fear, then you can open your mind to see what things you have to do better, what skills you have to learn. But instead of acting on that fear, because if you're always thinking about what if I make a mistake and they say goodbye, for example, then you are stopping yourself from learning new skills because you'll be so focused in one thing that you will not be open to learning more. So that's one thing I would say at first. Stop operating with fear, because first, we don't have a culture in which we operate that way. So that gives you the openness to actually operate with trust instead of operating with fear. And the second is, if you're finding that there are things in which you need to overcome mistakes that are being done, or that you need to learn new things that you haven't learned before, then go ahead and go for it. I mean, learn those new things, ask the right questions, go find resources that will let you learn what you need to to achieve the task or the project or the things that you need to achieve during those days. So I would say those two things: stop operating with fear and start operating with trust. And the second is, if you need to learn something and if you need to change something, then just go ahead and do it instead of just thinking about what you did wrong, because otherwise you won't go out of that and you won't let yourself grow.
I wanted to also add, and this is something very important, it also goes along with our values: embrace feedback. I've noticed that when we're afraid to talk about some of our fears or our potential weaknesses or like those things, we tend to make stories in our head that they might not be true, but we're living them in our head. So when we have a mindset of, please provide me with feedback, please tell me, am I doing this right? What can I improve? What can I do better? That story will dismantle immediately. Like it will go away because you know exactly what people feel like you need to improve or you're doing great. And that also boosts your ah, what's the word? Like your autoestima. I can't say this in English, but that,
Esteem.
right? Yeah. So that will help you. So if you're worried that you're not hitting the mark or that this is, I'm making a mistake here, am I making a mistake there, ask for it, right? The worst thing that can happen is that people will tell you, yeah, you're doing this wrong, so let's work on this. Or they might tell you, hey, no, everything's completely fine. And that will help you feel more confident, right? Another thing that I just remember from an executive customer that we have, Carrie, that she also did a women leadership with us, is that she said, sometimes we just need to focus more on our strengths rather than our weaknesses. So find your
And
strengths. What are those
and I
things that you're really good at? Yeah, go ahead.
I think culturally that's a big thing as well. Even working in international companies within my country, it's very difficult because the environment is very different. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you have a support team here at Viva. We truly, truly mean what we say when we're saying that we're here for all of you to really help you overcome those challenges or those fears. Oh, and I'm really sorry about the accident that you had with your family. And I'm glad that you're all doing better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your answers. And thank you very much, Leonard, for sharing. I hope everything goes well and you have a support system, just like Sue said. I know we have two questions, one for Tamara and one for Anna, but I would encourage you to send me those questions through the chat so we can send them to our panelists and answer, because unfortunately we are running out of time. I wish we had another 30 minutes to an hour to keep going with this panel, sharing their experiences and everything that so many things that we need to learn from them. And I am truly honored to be part of this to this special event, and I want to see everybody growing, supporting each other, learning from each other. So this would be the end of our new Women Driving Change panel. We hope to see you on our next edition, and I know there will be plenty of more of you out there in a new panel sharing their stories coming up this upcoming year. So thank you everybody for coming, sharing, and supporting each other.
Are we going to take
Thank
a
you,
picture?
everyone.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, we should take a picture before everybody runs away. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can fit you all, because we are a lot. Okay. Let's see. All right. There are quite a few without a camera. Let me have them load up really quick. And I like Phineas's smile. So everybody, please try to imitate Phineas's smile for this session. And here we go. Let's see. Why is not taking my picture?
My cheeks hurt,
There you
Carla.
go. I'm sorry. There you go. Everybody looked beautiful. So thank you very much once again for sharing and for jumping into this beautiful session. We see you next time.
Thanks,
everybody.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Bye.
Thank you.